Hi, Taris here from Richardson and Wrench at Marrickville. Welcome to this week's update. Today we're going to talk about my tips for bidding at an auction. So there are 8 main ones that I've thought of that I'd like to give you, and that's based on my experience as an agent watching people bid, also buying a property myself, and also actually acting as an advocate for people myself. So let's get cracking because there's a few. This might be a little bit of a long video, but I think it's worthwhile. First is strategy. I'm not going to tell you what strategy to have. All I'm going to tell you is no strategy is worse than bad strategy. So if your strategy is a bad one, ultimately at the auction, it's far better to have one than to turn up and just make it up as you go. I've seen people do that. It's horrendous. Have a strategy, number 1. Number 2, practice does make perfect. Doesn't mean you go and bid on things you don't want to buy, but at the same time, if you go and attend auctions, particularly in the environment in which you're intending to go to one, so if you're looking at a property that's going to be in rooms in 2 weeks' time, go to some other auctions in rooms, preferably with that agent and that particular auctioneer if you can do it, because that will give you a lot of comfort in knowing what the room's like, what the space will be like, where you feel comfortable sitting or standing, where you want to be, how early you want to arrive. Get rid of all that stuff on the day of a very stressful experience in buying for auction. You don't want to be doing things for the first time that much if you don't have to. You want to feel as much comfort as you can before the bidding starts. So number 3 is basically having a limit that's more than you think the property is worth. I'll say it again. Whatever you think the property is worth, set your limit above it. It doesn't have to be a lot above it, but do it. The reason I tell you this, I've seen it over and over again, people will go with the limit that they want to buy it for, or they hope they're going to buy it for. And that's not going to work 90% of the time. Then you're going to get stuck in the worst position possible, is the bidding goes over that number and you're making up as you go a number after that that you're willing to pay. I've seen people get into stress over that. It's not worth it. Example, you want to pay $850,000 for the property, set your limit at 857, 862, 865. Then if it goes over that, you will calmly drop out of proceedings. It'll happen. Don't do the other way. It is a recipe for disaster. Number 5, we're up to 4, sorry. We're up to number 4. When you are setting yourself a limit, make that number a weird number. Don't have a round figure, okay? If you think it's worth 850 or you want to bid up to a certain limit, always make that limit an unusual number, because most people will stop at round figures. Again, $1 million, 800,000, 900,000. People always stop at round figures. Don't have a limit that's a round number. Have something that's odd, because then you're more likely to stop at a number where people will always keep going, and you'll never go home wondering, oh, what if I'd got an extra 5,000 I would have got it. That makes sense? It's an unusual one, but it's worked for me and for clients I've advised on many occasions. So the other thing is, what most people don't decide on before they go, is they don't talk about or discuss what they're going to put in as an opening bid. You need to know what your opening bid is. That doesn't mean you're the first person to bid. It means where are you going to join the action. You might start the auction, you might feel more comfortable waiting for the bidding to get to a certain level, but make sure you know when you want to get involved in the bidding. Don't try and make it up as you go. It gets back to strategy. Have in your mind, well, at 6 or at 7 or at this or at that, I will be involved in the bidding. It helps you, it gives you clarity. The number 6 one, which is a really dumb one, but I'm going to say it, you have to bid. Please don't get caught up in this paralysis by analysis. You're too cool for school, you've watched all these reality programs, and you think that you don't have to bid. I've never sold a property at auction to someone that did not bid. And if it passes in, we will always go to the highest bidder first as a courtesy, because we feel they're the most genuine that's going to buy it. It's very rare to be able to buy something on auction. Don't make that mistake. Number 7, basically, when you're bidding, the type of increments that you bid, you should announce them as the number, not the price. So for example, if you're going to be bidding and the bidding is at 800,000 and you want to bid 810, don't say 810, just say $10,000. $10,000 is all that you want to bid for the property. Above that amount, it's easy, and then you get into a rhythm, because your increments are only going to be 1 or 2 or 5 or 10, so it's not going to be that hard to keep doing that. Sometimes the price could be a really weird price and it gets into really small numbers and you can lose thread in the auction. plus not realise what you want to spend. 1,132,000 as an example. Keep the increments as the bid, 1, 2, 5, etc. It's a lot simpler, makes your bidding life a lot easier. And the final one, try and get there early and try and find out how many people have registered. Some people might register online or offline, but if you're physically there and you watch everyone walk to the registration desk and register, it tells you how much competition you have. If it's only 2 people, maybe that's very vital information because you might have been expecting 10 or vice versa. It helps you to adapt your strategy to the numbers you're going to be up against. I hope that's all pretty clear. I hope I haven't spoken too quickly, but those things there are very helpful, I think, for you having the most success you can possibly have on the day. It's not always going to work out your way. If someone's got more money than you and wants the property more than you, there's very little you can do strategically to avoid that person getting the property. But I've seen those other tips work to get you to buy something for a price you want to pay, and most importantly, not lose control and pay an amount of money for something that you weren't happy with. So good luck out there in auction world, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye for now.